Greetings, Vermont. I am Jill Martin Diaz. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the supervising attorney and director at Vermont Asylum Assistance Project, or VAAP. I am thrilled to share with you our inaugural annual impact plan, as well as our vision for the next 3 years, which we're calling our roadmap, as well as our FY26 annual plan. So it's a year-end review, a roadmap for where we're headed, and then a focus in on what we want to accomplish this year. All of this information is available at www.vaapvt.org/impact. Vermont Asylum Assistance Project is a newer legal organization that rose up to fill an unmet need for technical assistance that encourages pro bono attorneys to volunteer on immigration legal work. It's one of the many access to justice measures that other states with similarly situated population demographics, financial constraints, values and value systems that they use to close the justice gap impacting non-citizens. Non-citizens who are navigating immigration processes either before the USCIS or the affirmative benefits granting branch of the Department of Homeland Security, or people who are invoking defenses and protections against removal before the immigration courts, which sit under the Department of Justice. A person is exponentially more likely to prevail in any of their claims and defenses with counsel. And they're exponentially more likely to get out of immigration detention, which in turn makes them exponentially more likely to access counsel for the merits of their cases and to assert and prevail in their claims. So more lawyers means more justice in the immigration legal system. We're joined by many amazing partners who together form a patchwork quilt of access to justice measures focused on non-citizens in Vermont, some of which are based at community-based organizations. There is a law school clinic that does a lot of direct services and advocacy work. We partnered with advocacy organizations and litigation organizations like the ACLU of Vermont. And VAAP is standing up as not only a pro bono technical assistance coordinator, but also as a direct service provider since we began welcoming Vermont's first National Immigrant Justice Corps Fellows, or IJC Fellows. This fall, we will bring our total tally up to 4 fellows, and as of next fall, we'll have 5. So quickly taking up some of the direct service legal needs impacting in Vermont. We incorporated at the end of 2023, hired me as the first paid staff in January of 2024, and we've grown very rapidly ever since. We are using as a guide the recommendations and findings by Maya Sukasaki, who was the Vermont Bar Foundation's Vermont Poverty Law Fellow from 2022 to 2024. She was funded to conduct legal services and advocacy projects, and also study and report back on the legal access gaps impacting non-citizen Vermonters. She was completing that work under supervision of the Law School Clinic, the Center for Justice Reform Clinic, where I worked at the time, and which is now directed by our esteemed partner and co-counsel, Professor Brett Stokes. Maya had laid out a roadmap for VAAP, and VAAP has been using her recommendations, which were evidence-based and grounded in lots of research, and also practice experience and reflection to help guide VAAP on how we should grow and where we should stop growing, and how we can support our community partners to also grow in tandem. We had a really successful first year. Our first year saw us quickly growing into direct service practice. So not only mobilizing pro bono attorneys, setting up infrastructure to connect us with national technical assistance and to make sure that we're circulating that appropriately with our community partners and the pro bonos who we mentor. We ended up providing full scope representation to over 50 individuals. And then in clinic style representation, we're able to provide at least some kind of limited scope assistance to over 300 individuals seeking humanitarian protection. So some of those individuals are in family groups with each other, and we were able to meet with whole families or individuals as needed. We filed hundreds of applications. Some people received advice only. Some people chose not to file based on relative merits or risks. We then embarked on detained defense as immigration detentions ramped up in Vermont, and were able to help 5 people so far exit ICE detention back to their home communities in Vermont. And we are undertaking the contract to ensure access to universal representation for any unaccompanied children facing removal. And we have helped 13 of those young people to terminate their removal proceedings so far. So lots of success there. With regards to our community partnerships, we're drawing connections and building communities of practice, and trying to amplify and support the amazing work that was already underway by our service providing partners with whom I've had the privilege of working since I began my legal practice in Vermont in 2018. We've been convening lawyers for legal education, community partners in the hundreds for community education. We've been doing web-based education and curating a self-help resource library. We have increased our newsletter outreach and our social media outreach so that we're able to disseminate quality information and combat harmful misinformation from the grassroots. And as a result, we have been able to help support community organizations to accompany individuals to their ICE supervision meetings, to their fingerprinting appointments with USCIS, to interviews on applications for things like green cards and citizenship, and even to help guide people who are accompanying respondents in removal proceedings who don't have access to a lawyer. So we've been able to, not only scale our own reach and our own impact, but to make sure that we're sharing information and resources with community partners so that they can be doing the same while we grow our own program. We have been able to increase a distribution of our newsletter to thousands of people, and then also to communicate with the public through earned media. A lot of our media coverage grew from our expert testimony that we offered in the State House during the 2025 legislative session, which saw us supporting 5 bills that were ultimately passed into law, which is very exciting, and they're all detailed on our website. We also have been able to serve on statewide professional boards, committees, task forces that have helped us to champion what we're seeing on the ground, lift up the needs and priorities of the community organizations to whom we're accountable. And then we've also been able to champion Vermont on the regional and national scale through similar mechanisms in national bar associations. And that has warmed up our access to national technical assistance that we then bring back to community-based practitioners in Vermont. We are so grateful to all of our partners for your trust so early into our existence, and especially grateful to the incredible volume of supporters that have stepped up in 2025 to help us navigate federal funding freezes that previously underwrote a lot of our direct services and threatened to shut down our program in February. In just a few short months, through a number of very substantial and generous individual gifts, overwhelming grassroots giving, including one-time monthly donations, awards from new foundational partners, from new grant makers, and from new funds that have been set up to help expand our work. We are now entering the financial year 26, which we measure from July 1, 25 through June 30, 26, with a robust budget and org chart and agenda. So all of this we see as furthering our vision for a more equitable and inclusive Vermont that does not that does not divide immigrant communities by subpopulations, that does not risk prejudicing access to immigrant equity and inclusion based on where a person is from or what their status is or where they live or what language they speak, but instead furthers our vision, our hope of changing the tide so that all boats can rise together, so that all of Vermont can hopefully seize this opportunity for increased attention and resourcing to leave this moment stronger than where we started, to build infrastructure for Vermont immigrant justice that lasts. We publish here our mission, vision, and values. We're going to be reviewing this material with our newly expanding staff as soon as everyone is onboarded through the end of fall. And then we'll be reporting out again on our progress for FY26 and perhaps revisiting some of these corporate governance documents for FY27. For FY26 in particular, our focus is threefold. One, we really want to continue diversifying the scope and locational availability of immigration legal services in Vermont. So we're going to be looking for high need, high urgency issues that the current legal services bar is not providing for, maybe due to lack of access to resourcing or experience or adequate mentorship and supervision. And we're focusing on building our team and supporting our partners to build their teams if they desire, to meet those unmet needs and make sure that everyone in Vermont feels the access to justice resources provided by Vermont Asylum Assistance Project, which is indeed a statewide organization. We also want to maintain and strengthen our big team. We're growing. I'll review the organizational chart on the next page. And one metric for success, of course, will be how we're able to retain at least the majority, if not everyone, of our new staff and our volunteer staff. So we have paid staff and volunteer staff reflected in our org chart. So we'll be thinking about how to quickly right size the operational infrastructure we have in place to support our staff to sustain themselves in this incredibly arduous work. We absolutely want our staff to be able to bring their whole selves, their lived experiences, their identities that shape the way in which they provide meaningful service to our client populations, and we want to compensate them accordingly and make sure that they feel supported in their work and have access to state-of-the-art information so that we are doing no harm to clients, even when the Trump administration is very focused on rapid legal changes on a weekly basis. Finally, we're going to be focusing on intake. To date, Vermont has lacked a centralized legal intake for immigration legal help. It has been a challenge to date. We've made do as a sector with, friendly referrals using the phone tree, as is the Vermont way. But what this year has shown is that infrastructure is not sufficient to meet a volume of need like what we've seen in 2025. And so we will be welcoming an intake strategist to join us for a 6-month consultancy to build on her own experience building detained immigration intake systems in New Jersey, and help propose a system that will work for Vermont to reach out to all of our partners. We want to build something that is going to be relevant and responsive and helpful, and we'll measure success based on whether we see it and you see the community embrace the new intake system that we'll announce in the spring, and commensurately a decrease in kind of back channel or informal requests for legal help. We want Vermont to know where to go for legal help. We want it to be simple and accessible and relevant and effective. and we want to be able to respond to the needs that we're hearing. So we encourage folks to take a look here at our action plan about some of the mechanisms that we are planning to operationalize, the steps we'll take to meet these objectives. And I'll continue on with our org chart. Apologies that, what a blessing that our org chart has grown so significantly that the document has to be turned on its side, but you can also zoom in or download a PDF with that is landscape format to read the document more easily. As you'll see reflected in this org chart, wherein the solid color boxes reflect positions that already exist and are filled, and the empty boxes reflect positions that are new and to be filled or proposed. We are going to scale our work this year. So we have grown to be a team of several attorneys who this year are going to also undertake a bucket of program coordination that previously sat with my role. And that will allow the public and each other to know who is the point of contact on the administration or operations of different types of access to justice programming we do. One person will focus on coordinating service learning at the undergraduate level. Another will focus on coordinating legal fellowships at the postgraduate level. Another person will focus on supporting our in-house embedded volunteer staff attorneys. Those are folks who work on at least a part-time basis, embedded in the VAAP universe on a daily basis, but who are volunteering their time. We also are looking to create new practice development fellow positions. These positions would be envisioned for people with, mid-career attorneys who have enough practice experience to offer some in-kind mentorship and support to our newer staff attorneys on the team and law fellows. And in exchange, we would be employing them part-time, where they would be paid to take on some of our humanitarian defense work and then receive technical assistance and mentorship from me and our board to help them think about how to launch their own solo or small firm immigration practices in Vermont. We envision that those roles will mirror the paid staff attorney roles, and that there will be an element of program coordination we ask them to bottom line in addition to their casework. And we will be reserving, a significant amount of time in their schedules per week when they might use that time to be working with me to build up their solo practices. Vermont is in desperate need of referral partners and there seems to be a capacity to pay fee for service, at least on a sliding scale. And my estimation is that there is enough unmet need in the private sector that honestly, across all three types of family, employment, or humanitarian immigration, that would sustain a few new practitioners in our field in Vermont. So we're going to be announcing that. We're also going to be working up and recruiting for community legal support worker positions that will sit with the community-based organizations we partner with, and their in-person time. We're a hybrid remote organization, but their in-person time would be spent at designated community-based organizations in their catchment areas with whom we're partnering to parachute in and provide VAP-supported direct legal services on the ground, tailored to local population needs. So we've already begun fundraising for some of those positions and expect to advertise for the first one or two positions in the coming weeks. And finally, you'll notice there's now, in addition to our programming department, there is an operations department that's growing. So we are thrilled to welcome as our inaugural director of operations, Devin Ayers, who comes with years of experience from Vermont Legal Aid and previously was a union organizer. She has read for the bar and will be joining us to lead operations for VAAP. There are a number of vendors and part-time employees who are currently filling our operational support needs, and we'll be excited to embrace Devin's vision for how we can best operationalize our growing program team in the time ahead. This is a lot of growth, and it is, again, thanks to all of you. We're so grateful for our supporters. You make VAAP possible. We're especially grateful because we know that major gifts are typically met with more stewardship and individually felt appreciation than I, as a so far solo practitioner, has been able to offer, in addition to my substantive legal work. And with our growth, I'm so excited to take on a more traditional executive director role and to really make your partnership, your contributions deeply felt. You are a part of VAP. I want to hear from you. I want to celebrate our victories with you. And I want to make every single supporter, big or small, recurring or one time, really feel the impact of their dollars, because access to justice, rule of law, our constitutional and civil rights are indeed at stake, and every dollar counts when justice is on the line. So thank you. I'm very happy to speak with anyone individually who has questions about how we structure our budget. We really focus on focusing most of our operations on paying for staff so that we can, we can really meet our mission and meet the moment in robust ways. So there's a lot of ways in which we rely on in-kind contributions um, and gifts of technology or other types of support. So we don't always have the most state of the art facilities to offer you for meetings or state of the art administrative support, because notice we still don't have administrative support as a separate position that has been planned for just yet. So thank you for your grace, and thank you for your partnership. We're so grateful to be meeting this moment with all of you. If you want to get involved, please share our message, subscribe for our newsletters, share our website and social media with folks who might be interested, forward the information contained in our newsletters to your networks. And if you're interested in supporting our work financially, I'd be really happy to speak with you or to connect you with our board's fundraising and outreach committee, which has been growing in exciting ways. There are lots of different ways to get involved and to make a tax-deductible contribution to our organization, which is a registered 501c3 nonprofit. Thank you all so much for your interest. Please share our impact loudly, and together we will close the access to justice gap for immigrants in Vermont.